play the bass.
I'm Anna and I play drums.
I'm Paul and I play guitar and sing.
I'm Liam and I play the guitar.
And tell us how you got together.
Me and Liam started to play the guitar and covering songs and that, and then as we got a bit better, we just used to go to each other's house, and then John came one time, he picked up the guitar, and then we went to the studio one night
with one of our pals
on the drums.
We didn't play drums before.
We didn't play drums, but it was a good effort for him, to be fair.
But I think that was one practice we had that
It was one practice.
And I said
we just ignored Anna, who was playing drums for 6 years. And
we
then
kept
my sister, and then I didn't know how long it was going to go on for. Like, if we're just going to go a couple of times and then like just chuck it or like mess around. So I didn't want to, like, Anna's like pretty serious about it. So we.
So I remember secretly
and she was a lot better
oh
probably what we were.
Like, I've been trying to get in a band for ages and they've just gone ahead and done it. I actually found out through the band because it came up on my Twitter recommended. I was like, who are these guys? And it was
it's like we dates out
and
in school.
and then John was like, oh, like, do you maybe want to join the band? This was only a couple of weeks later, I think.
Right.
And then I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And actually I was buzzing because I was like, I'm finally joining a band.
Our first time in the studio, we actually done alright. We played
Yeah.
all your friends.
It was
played
probably
all your
awful.
friends now.
It was most likely awful, but we were buzzing.
Looking back, it would have been
We played
awful,
this-
but
we played
for our
this-
first time together, and like, we didn't really know what to do.
We played a snot song and I was on a bass and John was on rhythm and Paul was on lead even though he was singing.
I remember being so nervous and I'm like, I literally live with you, why am I even nervous?
We went a while and we didn't have anyone to play the bass, and none of us had really played the bass before, but Liam had a bass, so we were like, we were trying to get someone, and it'd be a bit crowded, and then like Paul wouldn't really play as much guitar and different things, or I'd just give it a shot. So kind of like, I had never played it before, I was quite new to playing the guitar, so it was like a big switch, but kind of picked up quite easily, and probably not the best at it, but like for our own songs, like I know what we play, and as long as I can stick to that, then that's good.
And it shows how much you've come on since. I remember, I don't know where it was in the timeline from where we first started talking, and I remember getting sent a video, and I've said this loads of times and various videos and things like that to anyone who listen, but I remember you sending me the video and it's like, obviously it's like dead raw, like nowhere near being polished, but I could tell individually you were all decent, so I thought, right, there's probably something there if they can keep going. And then obviously lockdown hit and all that, because I remember I was going to put a gig on in April, and I was going to give you a wee like special, remember calling it a special guest.
I'm not going to lie, but like I was trying, so Paul and Liam, I think were pretty up for it, like doing it, and I was just like, I was trying to do everything to avoid it at all costs.
Thankfully for you, there was a global
so I didn't make up an excuse that like something happened, but
John was not buying a bass, and I'm like, you just can't use my bass anymore. Like, you need to buy a bass, and I'm like, John, just buy it for me. I don't even want it anymore. Still got it. I eventually bought a bass, and like when he got like, he actually wanted to buy a bass. And
I know.
It was definitely a thing of like, we knew we probably weren't going to play it, but we wanted to at least work towards it to the very last thing.
We kind of, after a while, we were like, right, it's not going to happen, so we just go with it anyway.
We put a lot of effort in, but then we look back and like the songs we picked, and like,
there was
we're going to do 3 covers, and we're like,
it was
like Sam Fed, we're going to do like a guitar version of Bob Slippy.
Yeah, you gave you a lot of time to develop, and whilst there was a lot of dead time at the start, particularly at the start of the pandemic when you couldn't even get into practice, but once things opened up slightly, you still couldn't gig, but you could at least behind the scenes improve behind the scenes, so by the time people did get to hear you, it was probably a better spectacle than it would have been
because
playing your 3
we'd be
covers.
playing over the fence to each other and we'd be jamming in the house as well.
It probably helped us a lot, because like it gave us like time away where we could, like, even when we couldn't practice together, like Paul was like writing songs and we were coming up with different ideas and like going on calls and different things like that, and like, so when we
virtual gigs and that, so
when we went back to the studio, we were like a lot better than we were before, even though like back then it was just like we want to do it because the opportunity's there, but we actually had songs and stuff to work on, like, so
And I
it
feel like
benefited us.
The virtual gigs,
Definitely.
the virtual gigs we done like gave us something to work towards, even though we couldn't play real gigs.
And as well, our confidence we got for them as well, like
Yeah.
to get back into it.
That's key as well and that was what I tried to do through work before we were even able to get you back. That's why I bothered doing all that, because I wanted to give you targets and stuff to aim for. I thought if I just said, because at that point we had no idea how long the restrictions were going to last, so I thought it was important to give you those opportunities to have something to aim for. You're pretty self-motivated anyway, but I wanted to give you something to aim for, and also, just as importantly, let people see you, because it's quite hard to build up and get people excited about a band that no one's ever heard play. So at least that way it was getting you in front of an audience, and before you'd even played a gig you already had a kind of built an audience. It would probably have taken you a few gigs to establish under normal circumstances. So I think I've said it before, like for one of the way you came out of the pandemics, it actually maybe did work positively for you, if it's even possible to say that, because you in that time, in my opinion, obviously I'm biased, I think you eclipsed a lot of bands that have been around for even a couple of years or a few years before you'd even ever had your first practice, just with what we were able to do behind closed doors and through virtual gigs, socially distanced gigs, and also just through the work that you put in yourself and improving your sound.
Think building up a bit of a following. Like we obviously like always think of ways that we're always trying to improve our live sound. We're always trying to learn and improve in that kind of field. So to try and get confident in talking to people through social media and building up a gig,
There's someone being on a date behind you.
trying to get people on our side, but we're like we don't even know what we sound live.
Actually,
Like,
we
yeah.
know like feedback. Like the first time we played in front of anybody was was at Clydebank, but
No, it was not even in front of him.
it was the
Oh, it
first
was
time.
quite
Was it
bad.
Dunoon?
The first time
Was it
people.
Dunoon?
Oh, Dunoon,
Yeah, it was
because
Dunoon.
after Dunoon, we like somebody messages on Instagram like, oh, I was there that day. It sounded like.
Oh,
it sounded
yeah.
fucking
Like a
brilliant.
pure guy or
Yeah.
something like
And
Yeah.
like that was really good, because although it might be stating the obvious, but like we actually really want to know what people think of our live sound. We want to know if people were into it and stuff. So to like not have that for so long, but still trying to win people over to be like, oh, you know, we are gonna start this thing, you know, kind of join us type thing. That's like very strange when you just still don't know what you sound like live.
No, absolutely.
I think as soon as we played that gig in the gin house,
Oh, that was a boost.
I was
Yeah.
mental.
It was
The
good.
first one we know
Good
was
memory,
not the first one where everybody was, you know, where everybody was sitting down, but like one after the second gin house gig where like everybody was like standing and that.
Yeah.
Like they stage like get
The
wrecked
first-
before like
the
we even
first
started
one-
playing.
Like the first, wasn't it the first gig with no restrictions in the area or something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I was quite determined to do that.
Yeah.
As you, I think there was some stuff in like pubs and things like that, so they were able to come back sooner because it wasn't classed as an event. So there was like people playing guitar in pubs before we did that. But it was the first like official event with bands, and yeah, it was an absolute mission getting it on. But
So you didn't need
yeah.
a vaccination again.
we were able to do it, thankfully, and yeah, and that's why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to make sure that you were on the first bill so that we could keep the momentum going that we built up during lockdown, and not be
That was the first time our
not
pals
wait
had
like
heard
2
us
months
live as
till you
well.
had a gig.
That was the first time they'd heard us live, our pals.
And as well, like we didn't know what it was going to be like, because we didn't know what the crowd would be like.
Yeah.
We were on for like our first chord, and it was just.
I can just see it in front of me,
I just
it's just
see,
a core
I just see
memory.
Mark Dalton and from like, yeah.
It's like
I think it's
Paul's
benefit.
mum on his dad's shoulders. Like,
I think it's benefited you as well, but because since that gig you've brought in a couple of bouncers, so I think you underestimated it at the start. You were like down in front trying to sort
Because that was a charity gig as well, so I was trying to keep my costs down, so I'm already just paying for everything out my own pocket, so I was like, I could. I thought we'll just police it ourselves, and it was fine. Like nobody was
Well,
deliberately being an arsehole, but it was just
the bench at the back. take a bit of a beating.
There was
but-
quite a lot of smashed glass actually. I remember just us kind of walking about, kind of going, "Oh, see you later, guys. Sorry, by the way." Like,
it's just high spirits as opposed to any. There wasn't any point where I was like, oh no, this is out of control. It was just, but there was just points where I was more worried because if somebody's up on somebody's shoulders and they take a tumble, and then that's not really what you're wanting. Whereas if there's a bouncer, they can come in and deal with it. Whereas when like it's me trying to deal with it, plus also everything else that's going on, it's just it was a bit of a mission. Plus it was roasting as well.
yeah, you definitely.
You take a tumble.
That was my brand new banner as well. I can just paid like 150 quid for a banner.
You're up here thinking like me casually so far you just see me. Just
Last song, 15 seconds left. Liam goes back over his
The
arm.
actual whistle, I had 4 more chords to play and no.
I was trying to put a mic stand into the crowd, so maybe, you know, bit of
Aye,
karma.
the ego got a bit bigger.
But then he was very quickly humbled. He fell right to the back of the stage. So
Overinflated egos and broken banners. That is what we.
Look at his new man.
My Steve liked it a beating that night as well.
What is that?
So going beyond there, so we continue to go from strength to strength since then. So we've gone. So you had the first local gig with everyone there, and then we had, what did we have after that? We had the Gamble Hall. So that was the release of the Dregs. So that was your first studio recording, which obviously was overdue because of lockdown and things like that. But I've been keen to get it in the book because from there we can really start to build, and I can start pushing you for bigger opportunities. Because as much as it's good to put you on my bills, I didn't want you just to be playing on my bills all the time, because I wanted you to get out and spread your wings. So from there, there was a Gamble Halls, which you put on for free, and then there's a good crowd along there. Not sure, because we aren't charging anyone or selling tickets. I'm not exactly sure how many people were there, but there's a good.
Just over 200.
Something like that, yeah. And it was.
That was like Gin House point 2.
Yeah, and then from there, I think that's where the momentum really started to build, and that was what I think's key in building excitement around an up and coming band. And I've said this like since I got involved with B12 Entertainment, since I first started, is that nothing builds hype and interest, whether it's you're promoting a band or you're promoting events, than pictures and videos of an event that's packed and it looks like people are enjoying themselves, like the crowd's bouncing, or it just looks dead busy and everyone's having a good time. So I thought I could have stuck that on in like a smaller venue, and or maybe done it there but charged people, but then like about half the amount of people would have came and it would have looked crap. So I think from there, that's when people kind of started to take notice of you, because I'd get people talking to me and saying, "Oh, what was that you put on with Strange Dimensions?" And people in Glasgow I spoke to were starting to take notice of it. If your live event experience looks like something you want to go to, like if you're in a small venue and it's half empty, you're probably not going to, unless you know somebody in the band, you're not looking at it going like, "Oh, I've got to be at the next one." Whereas people see your gigs and they think that looks like I want to get involved in that. And I think from there, that every time you do something, there's more people want to come. SWG3 coming up, unfortunately, like was supposed to be a couple of weeks ago, unfortunately get postponed. Got the town hall supporting Kyle Falconer in a couple of months. Just talking about that actually. So think of you in your first jam. That wasn't really that long ago. I know quite a lot of time's elapsed, but in terms of quite a lot of that time as we've covered was dead time. But think your first practice, first couple of jams, and how raw you were when you two were playing over the fence to each other in lockdown. So think of your schedule now and what's coming up over even just the next few months. Please don't say anything that's not been announced yet, because then we'll need to cut it out. And there's a few things like that. So watch that space.
I know about them.
So think about your think about your schedule. What would you think back then if I told you that's what you'd have coming up now?
Laugh at you.
Even like
Don't even think I'd have a job. I'd just been a double or something.
Even like I'd say, although we played King Tux, I would say like the audio gig was really
I was happy to play apart from the LSU before it, but we're just.
The thing about King Tux was like we only got like 3 days notice, so I know it was like a bad chat, and it was like, oh, you might have this tomorrow, and then it was like, oh, it's on. But I was like away the Thursday, I was in Copenhagen, and like I got like back the next day. We hadn't like practiced in ages, but then when we played that gig, it was like we hadn't practiced in like since the last gig before it. What was it? Gambles?
That was
But
only
that
like,
was a week
that's
before it.
exactly a week.
And it was like,
So it wasn't
it actually benefited us, because normally we were like, oh, we need to get practices in, but then we like felt
Didn't you
dead
fly
fresh.
back and then within like hours you were...
It was like kept up, so it was,
Yeah.
I think it was it not on like
It was on,
in
so
the
I
morning,
got.
in the morning we went to sound shape and practiced it like for
Okay.
I went to college and that.
So just for everyone watching, so they might not understand the context, I'll just run through the timeline. So I think it was the gig was a Friday, wasn't it? So and I got an email from DF on the Wednesday, asking if there was a last minute support slot going on the Friday night, which is the night of my wedding, obviously. So I wasn't there for that reason. Yes, I was double booked, and I remember phoning you, and it's always funny like the different reactions. So right, I could phone Liam, and I'd be like, Liam, good news, mate. Just been offered a headliner at the Hydro. You're getting £2 million each. That's what you just be like, right. I need to check. I'm not getting in on that night. And then Paul, you get slightly more. You'll be like, yes, but like your voice won't go up or down. The two of you just show like
I don't pick up like 4 times because I'm in class. Like I get told, like I get phoned just after I got out of English.
She's running about half up and down the wall.
I remember you always get Paul first during the day because he's working at night, so usually when I'm trying to phone you during the day for something, so I got Paul first. Me and Paul had agreed it was happening, so I was like, you need to take this opportunity, because you don't take it, you probably go to the bottom of the pile. Like, yeah, they might ask you again at some point, but you don't really want to be knocking it back. If you can all physically be there, take it. And obviously remember COP26 was on, so it was a complete pain in the arse getting into town. And I remember I was talking to you, and you were like, I don't know, and I was like, you need to take it. And then you were in Holland.
There were actually like a list of complications that would point to it not happening.
But don't always wait for the perfect moment. Go and make the moment perfect. That's a cheesy phrase that I came up with, which I think was pretty profound. But you just got to take opportunities. At some point, as I said, I know they'll like your sound. I know you've got a good support base, so we just pound the ticket sales over it. Like, so I bought like tickets and just gave some away to people, just to kind of like help you out. And because obviously I would have taken like people there with me, but obviously I couldn't go because I was getting married that night. So
ended up like moving up to slots as well.
we went on first, and then we get told, oh no, you're on second last.
We were on first, and like, seeing the door, like, where they're ready to chalk, like, who's playing it. We were on first, and then somebody's telling us, like, they were talking about when they're supposed to be on, they were like, they're usually on before, like, the headliner and that. Like, no, we're not, like, I don't know what they're talking about. And then I went up to the sound guy, like, we on before the headliner? And he's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, okay.
I remember me, John and Zach and our 2 uncles were driving up, and I think John had gotten back so late that we left a bit later, but we were gonna make it like maybe 10 minutes before we were meant to be there and stuff, so that was good. But then I got a phone call when we were like 25 minutes away, and Liam will always phone me all the time, even if we're like, because he phoned me just there like 5 minutes ago, where are you? And I'm like, we're meant to be there at 1:30 and we're 5 minutes away.
You and Paul are sitting in the car for about 20 minutes listening to Libertines.
So I got a phone call. I got a phone call and they were like that, where are you? And we're like that, oh, like, we'll be there soon, we'll be there for sound check. And then they were like that, no, we're sound checking now, we're now main support, like, you need to get here now, like, they're saying we need to go now. And I was like, oh my god.
And I was just like,
John's like
Anna's like pure, so Anna's like pure kind of like, most gigs like, right until we go on, even though she's like, brilliant, like, just freaks out until then. I'm just kind of like, forget when we play, but I'll come to the practice and then like, oh, I've got a gig and I'll just like, turn up, like, and you know, I was like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm
Do you
alright.
turn up on a day with a new bass line in it?
I know, and then
How'd you like this,
even
guys?
play guitar.
I think
I
every time we play, I think you've went, check this sounds better.
and I just play it.
I've had a new bit on this song, Jay. I'm like, would you wrote it yesterday?
You two always need to have a, like Anna and Liam always need to have a wee pep talk with at some point.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
but everybody thinks I'm like,
You need to
something's
come
up
up
with
with
you. See, like before the gig, everybody's like, oh, you alright in that? Like, you want your mum that?
I know.
Alright? I'm like, I'm fine. And she's like, oh, you look like, you just...
You're just-
Because you're always
I'm like,
just-
aye, because I'm
It's because
fine.
you're always just standing there yourself with a pint or something. While I'm in the toilet heavy spewing on.
I know. I just like...
I was outside like, what, pacing up and down the street.
I remember watching a video for audio like on YouTube, and I can just see you every time the camera's out here, just standing like, with a can or something.
I know, just like...
Just stand myself.
Like I said, that's it. Remember, like that audio. It's always that's just another thing. I'm just because I know you all now. You come to know people's personalities. Like I don't tend to. I know like John and Paul, you're usually fine, but I always you'll always get there in the end. But I know I usually just need to say like don't worry, you know what you're doing, like all that kind of stuff. And I remember you when I saw you going outside, like during the Leaving Bordeaux set, and they were on before you. So I was like. He's looking a bit shaky, so I went outside.
We were getting set up on the stage, and like, we were like all set up, and like, where's Liam? And then he's like,
Sorry, but
we
because
couldn't
I
find
was
him, then he was in the toilet. And
I made sure I set up before I went to the toilet.
Is any toilet being sick?
I wasn't sick then.
I remember like your amp wasn't. There was something with an issue with your amp.
I was that nervous that like I didn't turn the amp on, and I thought there was something wrong with the amp. Basically, it was on standby. It was on standby, and I was that nervous that I just think like bad things are going to happen. So like, I just like pure like
That's what I was.
think the worst is going to happen.
Then
But
I was
actually,
like,
the amp was on standby.
See, the thing is, if I had an app that wasn't working, I'd be like,
Right, what's not my control?
I was like, I can't really like fix it. So
But I heavy think it's my problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't taken touch yet because the guy would let you use his
Aye.
amp.
I when they let me use his app, so
We
I
don't
could-
talk about that in this.
We're not going there. We're not digging anybody out. But, that's why. Because I remember just saying, you would take all the time in the world if it, like we'll get it fixed. Don't worry, because I don't want you thinking you were under time pressure and that just make you worse.
Even when I just came on like for the toilet, you're like that, you just tap me, you're like we've got plenty of time, like just don't rush now, even though you're 6 like
Well, I'm not
Liam,
late.
come on, Liam, you've been in the toilet for about half an hour, come on, hurry up.
I know you got to like. If I'm wanting you to calm down the last thing, and if I come over to you like, oh for fuck's sake, Liam, hurry up, like, then it's just going to make you worse. So like, even if I'm thinking right,
That's what you want to say.
I know, you're coming over like, Liam, it's okay, take your time, pal.
no, we were all good. But it was,
You got it in
it was
the
managed to have tea as usual from me. So so it was so we were fine for time.
King touch when you were there, we were running a bit like lost puppies.
No, Uncle style on the job.
Aye.
Everything seems to go wrong, but it always works out.
Yeah.